Good morning, students of class 10. You are welcome back to the classes now. We are doing nationalism in India and we have reached 1.2, and here is the subtitle, the Rowlatt Act. Now here there are altogether 7 points I have written over here. Let's go one by one carefully. Now pay attention and listen carefully. The only thing, you go to the online portal every day and try to understand what is happening in the class. Now here, number 1, encouraged and emboldened with the success of Satyagraha. Now before this, we have learnt about the Satyagraha which was implemented in Champaran, Kedia and Ahmedabad by Gandhiji in India. First he practiced Satyagraha in South Africa. He was very much successful and he came in India and launched Satyagraha first in Champaran, supporting the peasants against the oppressive plantation law. Then he went to Kedia and he supported the peasants about the tax which the peasants wanted to be relaxed, and he supported them. And after that he went to Ahmedabad and there he supported the mill workers against the unjust laws. They had to work long hours, the wages were low and the working condition was also very poor, and we have learned about that. And emboldened and encouraged by this success of Satyagraha, Gandhiji in 1919 decided to launch a nationwide, all over India, not in particular place but all over India, launch a nationwide Satyagraha. Gandhiji decided to launch or start Satyagraha all over India against the proposed Rowlatt Act in 1990. The government implemented Rowlatt Act in 1990 so that the Indians could not raise a voice against the Britishers, because the British had promised to provide independence soon after the war. But the war ended in 1918, but the Britishers, they never kept their promise. So in this way the Britishers were afraid that the Indians might raise a voice now for independence. That's why they implemented Rowlatt Act in 1990. So this act had been hurriedly passed through the Imperial Legislative Council. This act, the Rowlatt Act, was hurriedly passed through the Imperial means the king, Imperial Legislative Council in the Parliament, despite the united opposition of the Indian leaders who were the member of the Legislative Councils. They opposed the Rowlatt Act, but the British government never paid any attention and they passed the law hurriedly so that the voice could be repressed. This act gave the government enormous power. Enormous means great, big. This act, Rowlatt Act, gave the government enormous power to suppress political activities that was going to happen or going to take place, and allowed detention means to catch them or arrest them, allowed detention of political leaders or prisoners without trial for 2 years. So the Rowlatt Act gave enormous power to the government so that the police can arrest anyone who is very much suspicious. So the police used to arrest those political leaders without any trial, and they were detained and kept in prison for 2 years without trial for 2 years. So in this way, this was quite harsh. Gandhiji wanted non-violent civil disobedient movement. So Gandhiji wanted that the action should be non-violence. So the Gandhiji wanted non-violent civil disobedience against such unjust laws. This was quite unjust, because anyone would be arrested without any proof and they were detained or arrested for 2 years. So unjust laws which would start with a strike on 6th April. So Gandhiji, he planned and he informed all the Indian leaders that the strike should take place from 6th April, and from there onwards civil disobedience movement should start. So here, point number 5, everything was closed down during the strike on 6th April. Everything was closed down. The railway lines, communication, everything was disrupted. So everything was closed down. Shops, railway stations, communications, everything was closed down on the strike day, that is on 6th April. The British decided to clamp down, to suppress or clamp down on nationalists. They wanted to keep their mouth shut and they wanted to arrest them. He clamped down, the Britishers decided to clamp down on nationalists. Local leaders were picked up. Local leaders from each village and towns, the local leaders were picked up from Amritsar. So here in Amritsar, there was the incident. Later on, incident takes place. In Amritsar, the local leaders were picked up. Gandhiji was stopped from entering Delhi. Gandhiji wanted to go to Delhi and start the agitation, but he was stopped on the way. He was not allowed to enter Delhi. On 10th April, 6th April, the strike took place from there, and on 10th April, the police in Amritsar, the policemen in Amritsar fired upon a peaceful procession. The peaceful procession was going on. At that time, Lala Lajpat Rai was also there. He was injured, and peaceful procession was taking place in Amritsar, and police fired upon them. So in this way, provoking widespread attacks on banks, the people were very much annoyed, and they started attacking banks, post offices, railway stations and all. They started burning and breaking things. So in this way, the martial law was imposed. In Amritsar, martial law, the government rule. So the army rule was imposed, and General Dyer was given the command. The General Dyer took command of the police force in Amritsar. So General Dyer, he took the command in Amritsar, and there was section 144 was imposed, martial law was imposed. So this was for today about Rowlatt Act. Now here in our next class we'll talk about Jallianwala Bagh incident. The General Dyer was the main hero or main police officer. He was DIG. So he took command in Amritsar as a police officer, and he fired upon the people in Jallianwala Bagh. So we'll talk about that Jallianwala Bagh in our next class. So pay attention and go through online portal every day so that you will remember things clearly. So that's all for today. Thank you very much for your attention and your presence. Thank you very much.